in other border news, China has sent 71 planes and 7 warships to Taiwan in just the last 24 hours. This in a massive display of force in response to Taiwan-related provisions in that same $1.7 trillion spending bill, which passed quietly on Friday. Those provisions include weapons similar to what we've already sent to Ukraine, so Taiwan can defend itself if China does decide to invade Taiwan. Joining us now for more, the author of The Coming Collapse of China, Gordon Chang, and retired Air Force Brigadier General and Newsmax contributor Blaine Holt. Great to have you both on together again. Gordon, what's your reaction? What was your reaction when you saw what China did over the last day?
What we saw on Christmas was a record, 71 aircraft, but even more ominously, 47 of them crossed the median line, which is the de facto border, which China no longer recognizes. But really, this caps off a month of added pressure on Taiwan. This is more than just sending a message. But what I'm concerned about is the Oval Office and the Pentagon having really no sense of urgency of what's going on. They're not recognizing what the Chinese are doing. It's not just the military buildup. It's the sanctions proofing of the regime, also the mobilization of China's civilians for war. So I don't know what's in Xi Jinping, the Chinese ruler's mind, but clearly the most important thing is that we have to see what they're doing. And by the way, Rob, Happy New Year.
Thank you, Gordon. Appreciate that. General, what was your reaction to that? There's a lot of money in there. So basically, we can arm with defensive weapons Taiwan in the event that China does invade in the new year.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. We are on a constant footing to sell Taiwan arms. The Chinese CCP will either make something of it or they won't make something of it as it fits their propaganda needs. But to Gordon's point, what we're watching is operational rehearsals for war. And they've told us this. We can look away if we want to, but they're preparing for war. Behind the scenes, they're preparing for war. They have cashiered many of their industries. They're decoupling from many parts of the economy. But you can dig into their economy and find out how much gold they're buying. And over the last year, they have been quietly selling treasuries. This is a widening separation. The other thing that I'm very, very worried about is all of the CCP's covert programs in our own country that threaten our own sovereignty, from their relationships inside our government, which I think need great scrutiny, but also they need to look at these 2 Chinese police stations, the CCP police stations that are operating in our country, and 200,000 acres of arable farmland that they feel that they must have. This is all inappropriate, and we're not responding to China the right way.
Gordon, President Xi is scheduled to meet with President Putin over the next few weeks. What is that dynamic like? What's that relationship look like right now?
China and Russia are very close. China is supporting the Russian war effort to the hilt. You know, we have some very smart people in Washington and New York who say, oh, these guys, they'll never form an enduring partnership. And, you know, they very well may be right. But the point is, we don't care what the Chinese and Russians are doing at the end of the century. What we care about is what they're doing right now. And I think that we need to start imposing some severe costs on the Chinese for not only financial support for Russia, but military support. We keep on warning the Chinese not to supply military assistance. The Chinese continue to do it, and we do nothing. So this is really an unprepared United States to deal with the core of a new axis, China and Russia.
General, could we fight 2 proxy wars, one with Russia and one with China, if China does invade Taiwan?
I think the sobering answer is clearly no. There's no need to be anything other than blunt and direct with that. We already have such a heavy burden and commitment to support Ukraine in this war in Europe, and the support is appropriate. But what we have to now do, and you're getting at the heart of the matter, is we've got to start looking at the bigger picture. The Middle East, Asia, Europe, they're all interrelated in some fashion or form between these 4 countries, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and we're not getting strategic in thinking about our security needs. Instead, we're letting ourselves hemorrhage on our southern border. We're not taking the threats to the United States seriously at this point in time.
Gordon, do we need to, final question, do we need to be careful with sanctions, particularly when it comes to China? We learned this lesson in Pearl Harbor in Hawaii in the Second World War, the oil embargo. We put extreme sanctions on Japan. FDR was warned He was warned that this could lead to a global war. Do we need to be careful when it comes to sanctions?
We always need to be careful, but we got to remember what the Japanese were doing. They were rampaging through Asia at the time. And really, I think FDR had little choice. The issue is with Ukraine. I think, as the general says, that our presence there is appropriate. This is where we deter China. If Russia gets away with what it's doing in Ukraine, then not only China, but Iran and North Korea see a big green light. So this is perhaps the most dangerous time in history. Some very bad policy on the part of several administrations have put us here, but we got to recognize we're in a critical situation right now.
Yeah, scary developments. Gordon Chang, General Holt, great to have you back on. Gordon, as you just said, Happy New Year. If we don't see you, thank you. Appreciate it.
Happy New Year.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
No crooked establishment.
None of that
Twisting the truth.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They
Let me decide.
Newsmax.
Real news
For real people.